Mentally ill? No. Maybe misaligned with source? Yes. And
Okay.
I feel that, so Sierra went through, the cacophony of diagnoses,
And we both get visits from your darling daughter on the other side. We know that she's wanting us to get a message out to the world. And so, what better way to do it than you and I chatting here? And we'll just explore it and see where it takes us. But honestly, I just feel like I just want you to kind of share a little bit about, your type of healing modality, sort of what interests you. And then we'll dive into Sierra and the message that we think she's wanting to tell.
Absolutely. I'm super excited that you invited me to this chat, Kim, because not only do I feel like 2023 is going to be our year with leaps in learning on what we can do to actually help mental health, and the mental health path right now. I don't feel like we can even really say that we have a good mental health plan here in the West. I'm hesitant to even use those words because I feel like I'm not being truthful when I say them, because I don't feel like we have a good plan here. And yeah, my little daughter, my sweet girl, Sierra, she's no longer with us on this plane. So her human self left us when she was 23 last December. Sometime overnight between December 30th November 30th and December 1st, she left us. And she had struggled her entire life. And as her mother, I struggled also with mental health. And I'm not even sure that I can call it mental health. I'm that I've just been shown so many things since her passing that I almost feel like we have to scrub those words from our vocabulary, because I don't really know that is the root of what's going on here. Sierra showed signs of being gifted very young. My father passed in her presence when she was 10 months old. And being a wordy child, she was this little tiny package with a lot of words to say. Like the age of 2, she could speak in full sentences, and the things that she would say sometimes went over my head. And her godmother and I would chuckle because she'd say something that would seem so esoteric and odd at the age of 2. And then 20 minutes later, one of us would look at each other and say, "Oh my gosh, do you realize that what she just said is now unfolding right in front of us?" She just had this presence about her. And she started saying, when people would say that her grandfather was dead, she'd say, "No, he lives on the ceiling in my room." And at the age of 2, 3, and so I knew early on that this was going to be a special sort of handling that I needed to give this child. And it went on to me making many mistakes as her parent. I did the best that I could. I didn't know what to do, though, Kim. And we trudged through the mental health system.
I don't like the term, and I don't like mental illness. And what I've been saying is diseased thoughts or wrong thoughts or untrue thoughts. But then also, I think the road that we're going to go down is someone who's really gifted.
Yes.
Are we making the mistake of saying they're mentally ill?
Yes.
Or if someone is a highly sensitive person, empathic, sees spirits on the other side.
Yes.
Are we making the mistake of saying they're mentally ill?
Mentally ill? No. Maybe misaligned with source? Yes. And I feel that, so Sierra went through, the cacophony of diagnoses, but they couldn't even diagnose her as a child because the American Medical Association doesn't allow labels such as mental illness labels, which I'm almost kind of glad of, until they're 18 minimum. But she had the clinical symptoms of being schizophrenic. I have a very different opinion as to what was happening. But if they were to have been able to label it at the age of even 14, 13, 14, she would have been labeled as schizophrenic and heavily medicated at a young age. It still didn't end well because she self-medicated. And her self-medication ended up being her demise. She overdosed on fentanyl and was left in an empty lot. So whoever she was with, that's the one part that still bothers me, is that she wasn't treated with honor. Whoever she was with treated her as garbage and just left her in that field for fear of getting in trouble. That I have a problem with, but it's okay. The mental health part of things, though, she had severe oppositional defiance disorder, severe bipolar disorder. I can't even remember all of the names that they put on it. And every time she said, "Mom, no, 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 Mom, no, Mom, no, no, no." And she was very good at communicating what was going on. Unfortunately, neither one of us we didn't know what to do for it. I now think I know, though, Kim. I do. And I started being pulled. So Sierra ended up taking to the streets. She became a self-proclaimed wanderer and said, "I cannot live your life. I cannot live in your home." She would not allow to be controlled, the control of government control. She wouldn't go. She was deemed severely mentally ill. She had case managers. She was supposed to get medicated every month. She wouldn't do it because she said it made her numb and it didn't allow her to speak to the people, what she spoke to. It clouded that, it fogged her, so she wouldn't. And she took to the streets because she felt that she could touch those that needed touching most on the streets. And when I went to retrieve her belongings, which were clean and neatly packed in a suitcase at a friend's house, there were books on healing, and there was a color therapy light in her bag, and she was fighting the good fight, Kim. She was fighting the good fight. The little girl might not have known what, all the answers, but damn it, she was trying. And myself as a healer, I own and am the main healer at Elevation Healing. My primary gift is the gift of Reiki, and I'm a Akashic Record specialist. So we also do both beginning of life and end of life doula work. And
I'm sorry, what was that word? Beginning and end of life
doula work. My niece and my daughter. I have two daughters. One I birthed, and that's the daughter that passed away. I raised a foster daughter also. She resides in Washington. So Elevation Healing operates basically on the West Coast, and Serenity does the birth doula up in the Vancouver, Washington, Seattle, Washington, and Portland, Oregon area. And then my niece, Oriana, she and I do the end of life doula work between Southern California. She lives in Joshua Tree, and I live here in Glendale, Arizona. So we do the end of life down here. My daughter does the beginning of life up in Portland. And then I'm basically the Reiki master, and I do the Akashic Records reading. So one of the gifts that we offer through packages for the beginning of life doula work is once your baby's soul is integrated into its human body, and that can take anywhere from a couple of weeks after birth to up to 6 months. I each person is different. I do an Akashic reading for that baby. And basically what that does is that helps the parent learn what that child's soul blueprint is and how to best parent that child, and to help that child develop the skills that they're going to need to operate in this ever-changing and somewhat ugly world with the beautiful little soul that they are brought here to be. So it helps parents not to try to change their child, because we're really not here to, there's so much weight put on parenting, whether it be the parents are blamed for the child even when they're an adult, any sort of misgivings that they might have or any failures they might have. Oh, well, they weren't mothered enough. They weren't fathered enough. Their father was a drunk. But we as mothers carry a lot of weight as to the success of our children, because it's our job to make them successful people. And that's really not true. It's really like so horribly untrue.
Yeah.
And it causes so much trauma, both in a child, because then that child is experiencing the defeat that the parent is feeling, like I'm not doing enough. That child feels that. That child is brought here to be its own individual little being.
I think we'd be very surprised at the blueprints that we have.
Yes.
Like, even Sierra's blueprint. If we're kind of stuck in this mentality of, life should look like this, and you should, get a career, make money, and blah, like, that's probably not most people's blueprint.
No, it's really not. It's really not. And to be honest, I haven't looked at her blueprint. And I'm not going to. This was a gift that I developed as she was an adult. And even though as her mother, I have access to her Akashic records because of everything she had going on in her life, I did not access them. She'd already started on her path by that point. And I didn't feel like it would be beneficial to me to access them, nor to her at that point. Honestly, she was a little, not always reachable, not always clear enough to sit down and have a conversation with. So I haven't accessed hers, but I do feel like it's could have been, had I known what I can know now, would I have parented her differently? Would I have been able to help ease a little bit of that? Probably. But I also feel that had I been on my soul's path and in alignment the way that I am right now, as a woman, as a mother, as just a being, I feel like I could have helped her a little bit more, maybe supported her a little bit more. And honestly, that is why I got into Reiki. I've always been called to the healing arts. And, I remember back in college, I started college when I was 16. I've always been, call it a traumatic childhood, but I've always been.
I want to pause for a second, though, and I don't want to lose that moment of the grace we have to give ourselves for not knowing. Because I feel like I could have every mother, parent on here say, gosh, if I could go back and reparent with what I know now, would have I done it differently? And we probably all would say yes.
Absolutely.
But then at the same time, I go, well, we come in for this earthly experience. And I feel like, what if we just zoomed back and saw the big picture?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes along the way, we choose to come in as a martyr, or we choose to come in like as the revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting chills and I'm feeling emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Which tells me I'm onto something. But what if Sierra came in to be one of those people who's opening the door to a new way of looking at who she was as a kid? We've got to start somewhere.
Yes.
Opening up to more spirituality. We're like ready to evolve now in consciousness as the human race here on Earth. And maybe she chose to come in and be one of the first ones to show us what it looks like. And then you are like, okay, I saw it. I can give myself enough grace to really look at this. And the fact that you're doing, what you're describing that you do, the before and after doula work and the Akashic records, to me, that speaks exactly to your calling.
Oh, yeah. Sierra has
almost like you're a team. like you were a team to like, she opened the door and then she had to go, but she's still here, right? As we know,
Yeah.
like her human physicalness had to leave the earth plane, but her spirit is very much showing up for me, showing up for you, and I'm sure others, and leading you to guide parents now a little more who has the different child, the gifted child, the child that sees her grandfather on the ceiling every night. You know, that's what I see. It feels like the whole thing feels like a miracle to me.
I completely agree with that. I have been presented with some things that in a normal Zoom call, normal Zoom call, I wouldn't be saying that because everybody would think I'm crazy. But the things that I have witnessed, the things that I have experienced since her passing that I cannot deny, Kim, her death was tragic in my life, but out of death, out of that burning, that end, comes something so beautiful, this rebirth, where she's absolutely opened my eyes to so many things as far as what we can do for people, how we approach things. And it all seems so simple that I don't know why we didn't do it all along. And what you said about stepping back, the big picture, that is the first step. Is we need to just step back and take a breath. We buy books and we try to form and shape and control every little thing. We hit the ground running from the minute we wake up till from the second we become parents. We're going to shape and mold this creature into this little robot, into this little machine, into this little image of perfection that is supposed to mirror me and all of the things that I feel crappy about me. I'm going to make this little person perfect. And it's going to be this perfect mirror image of me. And this little person is going to be this token, this trophy that I succeeded. I did well. My genetics are being passed on to this beautiful little creation, and that little creation is going to go off and be a success. What a bunch of garbage that is. What a bunch of garbage that is, Kim. Because for one thing, that little person is not you. That little person is that beautiful little person. And that little person needs to be allowed to be whatever that little person is.